Right, we're going.
All right. So I've noticed this throughout my life that, let's say, and I think it has to do with observing things, being the observer. So I'll be getting my hair done, and the person who's doing my hair does a great job, wonderful job, and it accumulates and accumulates. And at one point, I'll be like, I really appreciate how you do my hair. I'm very excited that you're my hairdresser, blah, blah, blah. And then I notice it gets jacked up that day. And I have noticed this again and again. I'll have a housekeeper and I'll compliment them and it'll get all messed up that day. So I want to understand what goes on with that.
Okay, well, I'll explain it from the energetic point of view, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's what I have a feeling it has to do with me observing it. And then in the observation or in whatever is done, I've given it an extra observation. So I have changed the situation somehow. And I'd like to understand how it was changed because I just stopped doing it. See, I don't change when that's done with me. I just keep on being me. Yeah. And I don't understand how it's changed with others.
Yeah, okay, well, this is kind of how it works. The thoughts and our emotions are energy, and our thoughts are at different frequencies. So at the top you've got love, and then you've got grace, and patience, kindness, and so on. And at the bottom you've got fear. So we are generating thought and emotional energy through our thoughts and emotions. And if somebody else is on the same frequency as you, they won't react responding. They will respond rather than react. Whereas people who are not on the same energetic level as you will either raise their energy to come onto your level, or they'll try to bring you down to their energetic level. So that's how people often respond or react to the energy that you're putting out there. They'll either come up to your level of the energy, because what you're doing when you're putting out that energy, you're manifesting, okay? And you're manifesting on a timeline. And there are different 12 potentials in each timeline, with each 12 different energies. Okay, they're the primal energies. And then each one of those has 12 probability lines, and each of those 12 has 12 possibility lines. So in creating our manifesting, we manifest through our thoughts and emotions and put that, and it goes onto a different timeline based on the energy we're putting out there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so at any given moment, we have 12 of the 12 of the 12 that can create. So when you speak of those 12s, it's a moment like a now. So yeah. Now there's, and that's 12 by how many? 12 by 12 by 12?
The first one is 12. The next is 12 by 12. Okay. And then the next 12, 144 times 12. Which is 1,728. So the 1,728 possible outcomes for every thought and emotion we have. And depending how we manage our energy and our thoughts and emotions.
So when you say, I understand thought and emotion, could that also relate to each now?
Yes. Yes. You can only manifest in the now.
Okay, so truly that's each now.
Yeah.
Each now, there's that probability.
Yeah, in this moment now. So you can understand that in the universe there are so many possible outcomes for each moment. But what we can do is try to create a consistency and constancy in our waves of energy so that we can better shape the possible outcomes for each moment in time.
Yes. In agreement. Thank you, Colin.
Okay, you're welcome. Did anybody else get that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Hi, Neil.
Hi.
Neil.
I just wanted to say hi to everybody. Nice shirt, Colin. I like that. Hi, Louise. Julie, I'm really happy you made it, and I look forward to hearing your voice.
Well,
Morning.
thank you. Thank you for pointing me in this direction today.
I know someone was going to ask something there, so go for it.
Okay, Louise, do you have any more questions you want to ask?
Yes. One sec. Okay, so if you could, because last time Neil spoke about duality, so I think it would be helpful to understand, please explain how duality works universally with examples in the higher dimensions.
Okay, but just before we move on to that, I just want to further explain what I've just explained so you can fully understand it.
Okay.
When you want to manifest something, say you have an intention or you want to have an experience, it's better to ask the universe to give you experiences, because that's what the universe is. That's what we're doing here as soul beings. We're here to experience and to make choices and, use exercise good judgment in our day-to-day living in the now moment. So if you have an intention or there's an experience that you want to have, you have to put out the frequency of that thing that you want to have. So you think it, and then you have to feel the outcome. So you're emoting the outcome. So if you want to have a happy experience, you have to be happy. You put out that emotion of happiness, that's what you get. But if you're thinking happy and you're feeling, well, I'm not too sure, you ain't manifesting. Yes.
Quit smiling so much, Colin.
Beg your pardon?
I said, quit smiling so much. There will be no laughing.
Yeah, I'll give you an example on, when was it, on Tuesday? I got this idea that we should start a group that will enable people to share their awakening experiences, because I think that, for various reasons I explained on the site, I think you've all read that. But I just, next thing I typed it into my laptop on the internet, and bang, Julia responded to that, and she said, she thought it was a good idea. And then we chatted, and boom, next thing, an hour later, we had a group set up on the web. And 24 hours later, we had 30 members, so manifestation is not that difficult, if you understand the process that you're manifesting through your thoughts and emotions. And the outcome, you must begin to emote the outcome. So you connect with the outcome that you want to have in the future. So if you want to have a happy outcome, then be happy. If you want to have a sad outcome, be sad. But if you put out the thought you want a happy experience and you're thinking sad, that's what you're going to get. Okay, let's get on to...
That was it. Yeah, I was just going to say that was a really, really good idea, Julia. I look forward to reading everybody's stories, and I'll chip in a bit there when I can. And I just wanted to kind of just add to what you said, Colin. I know Louise was asking about duality, and the only reason I brought that up is because I know, and I think you kind of pointed it out. It's literally when we're in that. It's common that if we're in that state of duality, that it tends to lower our vibration, because those emotions tend to be of a lower vibration, because we're literally fighting and angry, perhaps wanting revenge, etc. And this relates to the power structures of the control matrix that we've been in, that we're basically leaving. And, you know, so it's just literally probably a good idea not to be in that. And I also believe it's very much involved that what we resist persists. So along those lines, that's my understanding of it. And again, it's just really nice to be with this group, and I expect over time it's just really going to explode. It's so nice to just be cash and be able to share and interject and not have any sort of, it's like a coffee. It's like eat for coffee.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it would be great if people start sharing the, you know, in an open kind of friendly way.
Yeah.
I think Julia and I, you know, want to avoid people criticizing other people or, you know, making snarky comments about people's experiences or expressing disbelief about another person's experience. I mean, that's crazy. But I think it's important that people get their stories down, because in the universe, the truth is I am. And I am the truth. So all truth starts with the person's consciousness and how they perceive their truth. So I can't experience another person's truth, and I can't comment on another person's truth. That's their truth, you know. So we want people to be able to share their truth and allow it to be, you know, without commentary, without being nasty about it or snide or, you know, judgmental. Everyone's entitled to their own experiences, and everyone. But what I also have seen in history, the history that we have here has been a total fraud, and it's not real. They've lied to us, you know, all the time about what our history has been on this planet. We don't know our history, you know. So I thought it would be good if we have replaced history with our story. You know, and I think it's important that people get their stories down in writing, so there's a tradition of people recording their truth, which then can be added to our story in the future. Yeah, that's more or less what that was all about. Just to get on to this thing of duality. Duality, again, is about resonance and frequencies. And if we think of duality as good and evil, those are two different frequencies. You know, so if that is our consciousness about good and evil, then we make good possible and evil possible. And that's what creates this duality we have here. Whereas duality exists everywhere. You know, for each thing, there's an opposite. And if our duality exists, what do I want to experience today? Do I want to experience love and grace? Now, love and grace are two opposite things. Love goes out and grace draws in. So they're opposite energy, but grace supports love. Because when you love, it's allowing of all things and giving of all things, and grace supports that by providing. So it attracts into your experience what you love, but not love in the sense of sentimental love that we have here. You know, it's in terms of the frequency of love, where you've allowing of all things and all beings. So duality is what we have. Duality as the high and the low frequencies. And when you have the high and low frequencies in opposition to each other, then what you're doing, you experience both the good and the evil. So to correct that, you have to start thinking the dualities in the higher dimension, the higher frequencies. Like I said, love and grace, kindness and gentleness, peacefulness, joy. They're just different frequencies. They're not, duality isn't necessarily opposition, because in the universe, duality supports creation. It's because duality exists, electric and magnetic energies, they both exist. And they are what are used to in the creation process. So it just depends on what level of frequency one wants to experience that duality. But because in our present paradigm on this planet, we tend to think of duality as being high and low, fear, love, and fear. And so that's what we experience, because we're allowing of love and fear at the same time. But you can actually get rid of fear altogether if you keep your mind and emotions in the higher frequencies. And one does that by what we did in our course, by managing your thoughts and emotions. You know, I had instances lately where people are feeling very emotional, and then the first thing I ask them, does that emotion serve you and serve your purpose? And they say, what do you mean? I said, just ask yourself the question, is this emotion serving you, or is it working against you? And usually it's working against them. So why are you allowing it? People just don't understand that they can change their emotions. They have to become masters of their emotions, you know, and choose their emotions like a smorgasbord of emotions. But the sad thing is, people, in the first instance, they don't understand that their feelings are emotions. What people think of as feelings here are conditioned responses. So we've been conditioned to respond to certain events or situations or circumstances in a certain emotional way. So we're not feeding our emotions. What we are having are conditioned responses to situations. And so people, what they think of as feelings, they say, oh, I'm feeling sad. Oh, I'm feeling so down today. I don't know what to do about it. No. I said, well, is it serving you or isn't it serving you? And so, well, it's not serving me. Well, then change it. But how do I change it? It's because you're not feeding your feelings. You're having conditioned responses to events, circumstances, and situations. You know, so mastery is really all about understanding that the power that we have in our soul body is very, very powerful, especially when it comes to creating and manifesting. But because we accept this duality of good and evil, you know, we think good and we feel evil. So what do we manifest? Duality. But opposite dualities, not dualities that work together and work to your benefit. I don't know if that makes any sense, Louise, or to anybody else, but it's kind of how I see it.
It's as if the range of duality shifts based on your location in the frequency range.
Yeah. You know, and sadly, when I was waking up, when this was pointed out to me by my higher selves, I actually got a book on psychology, and I copied all the emotions because they had a list of emotions. And these emotions went, I think it was 4 or 5 pages of emotions, you know, just one by one, the kind of range of emotions people. And the emotions is the main emotion, the sub-emotion of that emotion. And like guilt and shame work together, you know. Feeling guilty about something, you feel shame. So all these range of emotions, and it's really, so I had to sit back and say, how am I feeling? And in the beginning, I realized I don't feel. I'm not feeling. I was conditioned to respond to certain situations, you know, so I'd lost touch completely with my feelings. So I had to go back and look at the emotion that was described in the book and try to feel that emotion. And so that I could recognize the feelings by my feelings and not by my conditioned responses. So when I started to develop that, it made me so aware of the range of feelings that we're feeling all the time. The thing is, feelings are not logical. You know, you shouldn't try to say, this is why I'm feeling this way. So you're looking to some outside circumstances that is making you feel that way. That feelings are not logical. They are there to support your thoughts. And if you think one thing and feeling another, you're not supporting your thought. You need to master those emotions so that your feelings begin to support what you're thinking.
I'd like to say this much about the duality, and as far as the evil side of it, that us human beings are so fragmented, and we become fragmented from childhood, and we've torn away pieces of ourselves, and for whatever reason we have torn those pieces away from us. As we become adults, we see that piece of us, or that fragment of ourself that no longer is ourself, is a part of ourself, so we see it as evil. And when we see it as evil, we look at it as evil, but in reality, it is not evil. It is a part of who we are, and accepting that part of ourselves helps us to heal.
Yeah.
And become whole again.
Yeah. Because it's within our frame of possibility to feel the entire range of emotions. So it adds to our understanding of who we are if we can say, yes, I can feel fear. Yes, I can feel anger. But I am not anger. I am not fear. See, that my fear mustn't define who I am. But acknowledging it, I have the power to feel fear if I choose. You know, so that recognition is taking back your identity and your power to feel anything you want to feel.
Colin, I wanted to ask you if you could please give me an example in a higher dimension of duality, please.
I'm not sure I understand your question. Yeah.
Okay, so in a higher dimension, where duality exists naturally, universally, without how it is done here, because it is completely out of balance here. How is duality, if you could give me an example in a higher dimension of duality? Because here, like universally, how it's handled, because here we don't have the right frame reference.
Yeah, I can only speak from my experience on Sirius B, where duality doesn't really exist like we have it here, because their thoughts and emotions are always at a higher level, you know, so that they are limiting the possibilities of their future and their manifestation through managing their thoughts and emotions, getting into recognizing their potential, the probability, the possibility, and all those waves of energy. So they tend to live in the upper range of frequencies. So they don't experience duality as we have here. But what they will understand is that if you want to give love to somebody, it must be accompanied by grace, because love will give the intention and grace will give the support to that. And grace is just unmerited favor. The universe, you see, we've got it all wrong here. We think that because we have to earn a living, everything is earned here. Whereas that's not how it works in the universe. Beings in other dimensions that, like Sirius B, they don't work. They don't have to earn they don't have to earn their spurs, as it were. It just comes by grace. So they understand that love and grace work together, and so that is the one supports the other. So, and all the upper range emotions will support each other. Patience and kindness. You know, people say, well, how do I experience love? How can I love people? Well, be patient with them, be kind to them, be generous to them, forgiving to them. That's how you love. By doing the emotion of love, you know, actioning it in our words and in our deeds on a day-to-day basis. But, you know, humans have been dumbed down here and in their experience because of this thing we call duality. And we think of it as a bad thing, you know, but it's not bad. It's just the way energy works. If you are thinking good and you feeling evil, that's what you can experience, that duality. And there's been this whole notion of predeterminism and predestination on this planet, where you are destined to die, for instance. And your future is predetermined for you because it's inevitable, it's fate, okay? But that's because we don't understand that our unconscious mind holds the key to who we are. When we're born here, we're born with a clean slate. And that human that's born here, their persona is changed. And their identity is changed. And they become somebody else that is determined by somebody else, by the system here. So we stop being who we are, and we take on a persona that was created for us. So that creates this notion of predeterminism, that we are not in control of our future, that we can't create our future in the present. So that whole kind of notion of predeterminism, you know, it limits us. It's a very limiting thing to think that my life is predetermined by somebody else. You know, then you become the victim. I'm the victim of somebody else's predeterminism. So we have to stop thinking that way. We have to take back control of our identities, and go back and do that, you know, that regression that I spoke of once before, of connecting with your inner child, you know, your very young child. And after I did that progression, I realized that little boy who came into the world, you know, in 1950, was not the person that I was later on, you know, when I woke up. And I had to, you know, slowly figure that out, that what was happening was that I was conforming to the system so that I could get along, that I would survive, you know, by having to work and do things like that. And it kind of struck me, wow, those two persona were two different persona. So then I had to get back in touch with the persona that I was when I incarnated here. And I realized, wow, that little kid was quite an amazing kid, because I had no fear, no judgment, there was no criticism, there was acceptance of other people, there was no expectations, there was just, you know, loving kindness, a gentle heart, you know, a happy child, smiling all the time, allowing grace to fill my life with provision. I didn't have to earn a living. I didn't have to earn anything. I just sat back and let everything just happen. And I thought, wow, why aren't I that little boy? I want to be that little boy. And so I had to learn how to be that little boy again, because that's really who I am. And once I got to understand the little boy, I understood that that little boy doesn't judge and criticize other people. It just allows other people to be. So I learned that, you know, when I got in touch with the little boy, my playmate when I was, you know, up to the age of 5, was a little black boy. My maid's domestic worker's son, who was born just before me. So we were more or less the same age, so we hung around together. And I realized that I'm not prejudiced. Prejudice is not something that I am. I learned to be prejudiced, so I have to unlearn to be prejudiced. You know, racial prejudice, and religious prejudice, and gender prejudice. And getting in touch with that persona that I originally incarnated as has helped me tremendously to understand who I am, and to discard the indoctrination here. Yeah, like when I was a little boy, I always had a God consciousness from the moment I was born. I had God consciousness. My mother used to tell me that I used to sit in my sandbox when I was 2 years old, and I would talk to the angels sitting next to me. And she would say, "Who are you talking to?" "I'm talking to this boy. I'm talking to that boy." I called them boys because they were small cherubs, you know, that were playing in the sandbox with me. And throughout my life, I've had that kind of God consciousness. And so all of that is locked in our unconscious mind, okay? And what happens, the subconscious mind, the indoctrination, teaching we get here, then becomes our persona. And that unconscious being that we are, we have to make that unconscious being conscious. And when we awaken that child within us, we awaken our unconscious godness, goodness. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I'm still looking for the example in the higher dimension of a duality. If you come, like, very specific, if you run across one, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand, you know, from my experience in Sirius B, they don't experience duality as we have here because they don't have the possibility of evil or fear or jealousy or lust, greed.
Okay, good. Like, even in the higher vibrations, those don't sneak in somewhere by something, correct?
No, it wouldn't be allowed in the community. In fact, you would never get to that level of soul evolution if you allowed for the possibility of those lower frequencies. Because the higher dimensions, the higher you go in dimensionality, the higher the frequency. So it's a question of frequency. And if in the lower frequencies we experiencing that we can't get to a higher frequency, in order to get to a higher frequency, we have to start espousing the higher frequencies and the higher thought and emotions. So our values have to change, our attitudes have to change, our thinking about who we are has to change. So we conform to who we are in the next dimension, in the next density, as it were.
Yes, good. That's good. I didn't see it there, but I just wanted to double check with you and to understand how that functions, because in higher dimensions, I noticed that they can't stay there. Like, they can try to get there, but they can't stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's, you know, like on Sirius B, they have the Sirius Council. Mm-hmm. And anything of low vibration is brought before the council. You know, if two people have an argument about something, then it'll be brought to the council. And then those people will be rehabilitated.
Yep.
By the council. So
that's what I see that too. Yes.
It could possibly exist, but there's swift action taken and swift rehabilitation.
Well, I was hoping that the vibration would be such at a level that couldn't creep in to any extent or to any infection level.
Yeah. Now, I should maybe explain that when I was on Sirius B, they explained the history of Sirius B. Now, the beings on Sirius B used to live on Sirius A. And then and Sirius A is 33 times larger than Sirius B. It's 33 times larger than Earth. So it's a very large planet. and it has all kinds of minerals and things that are valuable in the universe. So it's a major trading center. So because it attracts beings from other parts of the universe, you have all these different kinds of beings coming there, and not each one of them can be vetted as with body scans that they have there. So they look at the frequencies of the beings coming in. And when low frequency beings come in, they kind of get targeted, not targeted in the sense that they get shot or anything, but they just keep a watch out for them. But the beings, the blue avians on Sirius A decided that was not the experience they wanted to have. So they decided to migrate to Sirius B, and to change Sirius B into the sort of society they wanted, the planet they wanted to live on, and it's a star actually, the star that they wanted to live on, and the kind of society they wanted to have. So they declared it a cloistered society. So they don't allow beings from other spaces to come there. They did once allow, and these beings are now living on Sirius B, what they call the gold and silver ones. They've got long blonde hair, and they wear a white kind of iridescent robe that you can actually feel the energy in the robe. So it's some kind of energy robe that they wear. And because these beings they were, I can't remember where they're from, somewhere in the Arcturian constellation, their planet was being attacked, and was going to be destroyed by some evil beings there. So they had to get off their planet, and they asked the Sirians if they could, the blue avians on Sirius B, if they could stay there. So the difference in culture that I experienced on Sirius B is different from Sirius A. In Sirius A, you still can feel there's a lot of duality going on because beings come from lower dimensions and higher dimensions and all over the universe to come trade on Sirius A. And frankly, they just like the cosmopolitan experience they have there, because you get all kinds of beings there. You get the reptiles, the insectoids, you get different species of humanoids, different race groups within each of those species, different ideas and creative abilities, different skill levels, and different skills that different race beings have. So they kind of learn from each other in that environment as well. But it's very busy. I did go there once with my higher self, who wanted to show me Sirius A. Well, I asked him to show me Sirius A, and I was astonished at the nature of that advanced society. Because on Sirius B, there are no buildings, there's no houses, they just live a very calm, peaceful, cloistered life. Whereas on Sirius A, there's housing for beings that need the housing. They're big, large buildings, they're floating buildings, they're floating ships. There are no cars and anything. All the lighting is produced from different energy sources, that the natural energy sources. So they don't have electricity there. They don't have cell phones or anything. They communicate just through telepathy, and they're very good at that. So it's a very different kind of society, but that's about as much duality as I experience in other dimensions. But on Sirius B, there's almost no duality. As I said, the duality is between love and grace.
Colin, is the experience you described observing on Sirius A because of the presence of a range of beings from different densities, say 4th, 5th, and 6th, whereas Sirius B, they only allow those of their density? I mean, I guess they've cloistered themselves, so they have, 6th density experience there.
Yeah, it's the 3rd density, but they don't allow beings. The reason why they allowed the gold and silver ones, because they had they were compatible energetically. And
So on A, the range, you mentioned that some of the beings needed housing.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming.
Because in the evolution of the soul, when one intersects dimension 7, okay, you still have to you still have to evolve through dimensions 7, 8, and 9. And when you get to, it's one density, but it's different probabilities in frequency. So you have to raise your frequency through that until you are able to not experience duality. And when you're able to do that, then you can get your frequencies up and go into the next density. So like when we ascend, we'll ascend to essentially have a dimension 5 consciousness, because our consciousness is already stationed in dimension 4. Our consciousness there is the observer that we observe in our reality here. So we'll go into dimension, we'll have dimension 5 consciousness, and we'll have to evolve that through dimension 5 experiences to get us to dimension 6. And once we've evolved our consciousness and got our frequencies high enough in dimension 6, we can then go into a higher dimension.
So I guess I was relating back to Louise's question about the duality that's experienced at the higher levels. So those on Sirius B have cloistered themselves so that they have a very specific experience they wish to exist in. Whereas those that have chosen to be on the larger planet have chosen to expose themselves to a wider range and may then experience a greater range of that duality that she was asking about.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah. And what we have done here, we've chosen to experience both the high and the low. So we have that consciousness here. So we have this real serious opposite dualities. Whereas to stop doing that, try to raise your frequencies, your thought and emotional energies into the higher range of frequencies, higher values, higher emotions. And it takes a lot of effort. It takes mastery. You have to work at it. It takes a lot of exercise of your free will and exercise of the will to get there, as it were.
I got to say, that's really good stuff, Colin. Wow. And the questions, Julia, Louise, that was great. I really, really liked what just came out there. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And hi, Darlis.
Hi, Darlis.
Hi, Sue.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's good. Sorry, you missed the earlier part, but you got that discussion on duality, so that's good.
And I see that you're recording, so that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have, I need to go over this stuff is so intense. I need to go over it a time or two.
Yeah, it is. Look, because our minds have been so badly conditioned here to thinking incorrectly, and to start learning to think correctly, learning to understand that, that there is we can create a different reality if we choose. But if we don't know what we will want and we don't know how to get there, we'll never get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all this.
Anybody else got something they want to chat about or want me to chat about?
Yeah, Colin, I have something. I would love to have a discussion about our health and how we can have really exquisite health.
Okay. I did a video on this quite recently. But in terms of energetics, okay, I'll just explain it how it works. Our soul body has corresponding energy points on the physical body. Okay, so our 7 on-body chakras connect to certain parts of the soul, our soul body. Our soul body is like onion rings. So our first chakra will connect to the inner ring, as it were. The next chakra connects to the next ring, and the next chakra connects to the next ring, and so on. And then we have something in our soul bodies which are called soul codes or light codes. And those light codes correspond to something we have in our physical bodies called biophotons. And biophotons are a form of light that's around every cell in our body. So when we are developing our soul bodies, we're also developing our physical bodies. And our physical bodies are really just an expression of our soul body. What's in our soul will be in our soul body. So our soul codes will correspond to what people call junk DNA here. Because our DNA, we have 2 forms of DNA. We have genetic DNA, and we've got what is called junk DNA. Now, genetic DNA carries our history, the memory of our family history, our genealogy, as it were. Our soul codes, the junk DNA, correspond with the soul code. They carry the memory of our soul history. So all the incarnations we've had since our first consciousness. So as we evolve, so we activate more soul codes, and those soul codes activate more DNA in the body. And as we activate more DNA in the body, we activate more biophotons around each cell, and those biophotons nourish the cellular structure of the body. But what has happened here is we don't have a consciousness that our health comes from our soul bodies. We have a consciousness here that our health depends on what we eat and the lifestyle we live and so on, which is partly true, but it's not entirely true because I haven't been sick since 2003. I don't get sick. I haven't seen a doctor since 2003, and the last time I went to a dentist was in 2003. I just never get sick. I just stay healthy. And that's quite weird because before that I used to get an annual bout of a cold or a flu. And there were sometimes I went through periods where I used to get headaches, and then I'd get toothache and then earache and all these different aches that I was getting. And now I don't have any of that. I very seldom get any kind of toothache or earache or headache. And I think it's just because I'm evolving myself, my soul body, which lights up the biophotons in my physical body. And when the biophotons, there's a guy called Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, and he actually uses this biophoton technology for healing people. So people who get sick, they go to Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, and he will treat them through the biophotons in their cells. And it's worth having a look at his website because it gives you a lot of clues about how the soul body, our consciousness, which is energy, our consciousness keeps our physical bodies healthy. And that's one way to get healthy. The other way to stay healthy is and from a physiological point of view, if the bacteria in your gut in your stomach is not healthy, you will never be healthy. So the first physiological thing you have to do is inhabit your gut with good bacteria. And to do that, you have to start eating, including a lot of fermented foods in your diet, because fermented foods carry a lot of bacteria. Now, people think of bacteria as being bad bacteria, but in actual fact, there are thousands of different types of bacteria. But in order for your stomach to digest the food, it needs 134 different types of bacteria in your stomach. And if your stomach is inhabited by those bacteria, what happens is your stomach digests the food better. And there's something called pre-digestion and then digestion, because the fluids in our mouth come from our stomach. And if we've got a healthy stomach, we have healthy juices in our mouths. So the healthy bacteria in our mouths help us to keep our oral health healthy, helps to keep our teeth healthy. And when we start eating, if we chew our foods and mix the juices in our mouth with the food, we pre-digest the food. So when it gets to the stomach, it's already inhabited by a good bacteria. And when that good bacteria starts to work in the stomach, it digests the food a lot quicker, so you use less energy because our stomachs use about a third of the energy we put into our stomach just to digest the food if you don't have healthy bacteria. Whereas if you have healthy bacteria in your stomach, you will have you'll have less energy, you lose weight because you're not retaining fats and toxins in your body, because this method of digesting food gets rid of toxins immediately, so you don't get, because an unhealthy stomach allows a lot of toxins to get into the body, because a lot of food stays undigested in our stomach and it rots there, frankly. And that rotting food in our stomach is very unhealthy. And it puts toxins into our system. They absorb through the walls of the stomach and enter our bloodstream as well. So the way to really stay healthy is to get your stomach inhabited by good bacteria. Also, there are lots of other benefits. For instance, our stomachs are intelligent. They call it the second brain. And North American, the Native Americans, used to call their stomachs their brain. When they spoke about thinking, they pointed to their stomachs and to their heart. They didn't think of themselves as thinking with their heads. And because when you have a gut feeling, that is feeling with your intuitive self. Now, your stomach and your brain are made of the same genetic material. So, for instance, when doctors are operating the brain, they have to cut away a piece of the brain to get to somewhere. They'll sew that onto the stomach to keep that piece of the brain alive and healthy, because they're the same material, effectively. And so your brain is intelligent, your stomach's intelligent. If you have that stomach intelligence by having healthy bacteria in your stomach, the food goes into your stomach, and the stomach sends a message to the brain. This is what I've got in the stomach, and the brain sends a message down. Well, this is what the body needs, so you must synthesize what you got in your stomach for the needs of the body. So the stomach then synthesizes what the body needs from what's in there already. So it will synthesize different vitamins, different amino acids, different protein in your stomach to give you what your body needs. But that can only happen when your food is properly digested and it's there in your stomach as usable material and unusable material. The unusable material gets disposed of, and the usable material gets synthesized to what your body needs. So you can eat less food. For instance, today I've had one crab stick and I'm not hungry. So I don't feel hungry. I just eat sometimes because I enjoy food, but I can go for days without eating, and it's amazing how efficient your body can be when your stomach's inhabited with good bacteria. Now, the types of foods that give you good bacteria, the number one is sauerkraut, because you need 134 different bacteria in your stomach, and sauerkraut has 104 of those bacteria. And the rest of the bacteria I get from eating pickled vegetables, from pickled beetroot, which is very good for you because it's very good, high in antioxidants as well. So yeah, that, but the thing is, some people think of fermented foods as being yogurt. Now that's just incorrect thinking, because yogurt, if it's made out of pasteurized milk, all the bacteria has been killed off in that milk. So when you make yogurt with pasteurized milk, it's not going to give you the bacteria you need. There's very little bacteria in that, so it's not really a healthy food. But if you can get yogurt made with unpasteurized milk, that's very healthy. That will give you bacteria. And also cheeses. Some cheeses are fermented and they're made with unpasteurized milk. And they can be very healthy for the body to put bacteria into your stomach. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I could go on about this for a long time.
Yeah, and I must have asked the same question last week, so I think we already went over this, so I apologize to everybody. And I just recently started eating more fermented foods, and I really want to learn how to do it myself too, because I have my own garden.
Yeah,
and,
great.
Yeah,
yeah. With sauerkraut, it's very easy to make. Just take a cabbage, shred it up, put it in water, add salt, close it airtight, and boom, leave it and let it rot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw a YouTube yesterday that said to use pickling salt. So I'll look into that.
No, I just use normal
Just
salt.
regular? Okay. Okay, good.
A sea salt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uniodized.
Yeah, yep. Perfect. Okay, good.
But even iodized sea salt is good, because our bodies need iodine. It's very good for the thyroid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reasons I was asking this question again, I guess, is because I was working out 5 days a week. I've had this issue for about 4 years with my legs. I attributed that to really overdoing long flights and not getting up enough and moving around, and circulation issues. And but it got to the point where it hurt to walk. And so I've been coming back from that and really working diligently on that. And I really thought that Pilates was helping me. Well, my Pilates studio got flooded out, and I haven't been able to do Pilates. I could do it on my own, but I haven't. I like the classes. But anyhow, I haven't worked out for a week, and my legs are doing really, really great. So kind of surprised me, but showed me that there's other things going on besides just giving all the credit to my Pilates class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say Louise, I'm not Louise. I mean, say Darlis. Have you ever thought of it this way, that it might not be physical, that what's causing your physical is something in your emotions?
Well, oh yeah. Listen, I'm a therapist by trade.
And if you feel those emotions, it may be healing what's causing your pain in your legs.
Yeah, well, I've worked on this for 4 years. Thank you for that. But I've been working on this for 4 years. I've done soul retrieval. I've done all this inner work. I'm a therapist by trade. I'm not afraid to go in deep and look what's really coming out. But so far, nothing. But what Colin's saying about the soul, that's one thing I've been saying to myself every single day. You are a soul, not a body. You are a soul, not a body. And I really feel that that's helped a lot.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It does help because it changes your viewing point of life.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of looking at life from the outside in, we look from the inside out. Because we don't see ourselves as body that's looking at that from the outside in. We're looking at the outside from the inside. And it creates a different perspective on life, yeah, which we need. Yeah, I just wanted to add, though, when I was awaking and I had an experience with my higher self, and we talked about how, and he said to me that I should try to undo some of the damage that was done in the past, because my body at that stage was not very healthy. So I asked him, what my problems. He said your problems relate to hardening of your arteries. He actually showed me my arteries. He took me into my body, and he let me see what was in there. And I could see the plaque that was gathering in my body. So he suggested I start using something called pine bark extract. The different forms of pine bark extract. It's one company that makes it that's very expensive, and they overcharge for their pine bark extract, so I wouldn't go for that one. You can actually make your own pine bark extract. It's just basically shredded pine, the bark of a pine tree. But they make claims so that it's a special French pine tree, special properties, which is absolute nonsense. When I looked at some of the analytical research that had been done into pine bark extract, it does the same job no matter where it comes from. The North American Native Americans used to use pine bark extract quite a lot for healing purposes, because it not only heals the inside, it cleans the arteries, but it also is very healthy for, cleaning the stomach, cleaning the lining of the stomach, cleaning in open flesh wounds. It can also do a lot of healing there as well. So it's a very useful extract or supplement to have around.
Great, thank you for that.
Also, you should try not to overuse, put glucose and fructose into your body, because what that does, it clogs the cells. Around each cell, we've got something called glycoforms, which they do the cell signaling. They're like antenna. They work like antenna around the cells, and they signal the cells. And when something goes wrong in the cell, the signal goes out to our bodies, and then the body will send T stem cells to that area to repair the cell. When we have too much glucose and fructose in our bodies, it clogs up those antennae, and it leads to cell death. So not using too much glucose and fructose is a healthy thing. People say, well, fruit's good for you. You should eat, total fruit diet. Well, that's not true, because fruit contains a lot of fructose, and fructose can be very unhealthy for you if you take too much of it. So I don't recommend a total diet of fruit. Fruit is healthy for you if eaten in moderation, but it can be unhealthy if that's all you're eating. And glucose, people put so much glucose into their bodies, it's frightening. I have a friend who will drink 5 liters of Coca-Cola every single day. He's dead now, but
yeah, exactly.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one, Colin.
Yeah. Like, I have a lot of friends, or friends who no longer are with us. When I was younger, I smoked, and they said to me, "You're going to die because you smoke." Well, I still smoke. And when I was thinking about it the other day, I thought, where are all those friends that used to tell me I was going to die if I smoked? And they're all dead. I think health is
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, health is also a state of mind. If you read Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, he'll explain how one's thoughts actually are very involved in determining one's health. So, you know, our thoughts and emotions affect our health directly, because when he did experiments, we had a piece of DNA. He took one strand of DNA, put it in one petri dish, and he took another strand of DNA with another petri dish, and they had the same mixture in them. And when he changed the environment of the one strand of DNA, that changed the strand of DNA, the energy in that strand of DNA and the shape. But the other DNA, which was in another room, also changed to exactly the same shape as the other DNA. So our DNA is consciously intelligent. And when we are thinking thoughts, the DNA in our body is picking up our thoughts, and it's responding to our thoughts. So, you know, we should be aware that our DNA is a very active thing in our bodies. It's not just holds our, you know, genetic history. It is consciously intelligent as well. Well, folks, we've been going for about an hour now, so if you don't mind, I'm going to do some preparation for my talk with Kerry Samadhi at 7 my time, which is in 2 hours' time. So just
look forward to that, Colin.
Okay, well,
what a great meeting. And I just wanted to really say quickly that our heart brains are pretty intelligent too.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got 3 brains. Yeah.
I hear you, man.
Brain in the head is just the processor. The information that feeds the brain in the head comes from our stomachs and our heart.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. Wow. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, everybody.
Love
yes,
you all.
Thank you so much.
Love to you, everyone.
Much love.
Bye.
You.
Beautiful day.
Bye.
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 Yeah.